Hi, I'm Lynette and welcome. Today I'm going to be sharing with you all of the eyeshadow palettes that I purchased in 2020. I've been seeing this video going around and I thought to myself, I could do this video because I actually kept track of all of the eyeshadow palettes and singles that I purchased in 2020. Well, at least right up until the end of December when I lost my mind. But in 2019, I had a series where I kept track of all the money I purchased on eyeshadows and lipsticks because those are my biggest temptations. And so I was attempting to try to rein in my spending and not spend as much. And so throughout 2019, I came back with updates to let you know how it was going. And then at the very end of the year, I gave you the grand total of how much I had spent. I had planned on doing that video in 2020, at least one video, not a whole series, but I was going to do one video just letting you know if I did any better, if I did any worse in terms of my spending. And yeah, not going to do that video. 2020, yeah, kind of fell off. You know, I went in with good intentions and then just, you know, shit happened and yeah, that didn't work out. But I thought I could come here and show you all that I bought. So if you're interested in seeing all, just the palettes, not the singles, if you're interested in seeing all the eyeshadow palettes I picked up last year, then keep on watching. So I'm not going to be doing this in any kind of order. I have a basket here, I've got some here, I've got a small basket here. So I'm just going to pull them out. And the first one I'm going to start with is from earlier in the year. Maybe I'll try to pull the ones that I purchased earlier in 2020. This one is from Anastasia Beverly Hills and it's the Jackie Aina palette. And yeah, this is a beautiful palette. It had been a minute since I purchased an eyeshadow palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills, but this one I was holding off and holding off and holding off, and then I finally bought it, and I'm glad I did because it's a really, really pretty palette. I think it's probably the best palette that they've done. I think it's the best color story, and because Jackie Aina helped create it, all of the shadows in here show up on deeper skin tones, so I can use every shade in this palette, which is rare. So yeah, I almost forgot. I had forgotten about this palette, forgot that I had purchased it this year. It just seems so long ago, right? Doesn't it seem so long ago? Anywho, yeah, so I was glad to have that one. Another palette that I picked up, I think it was earlier in 2020, and this is from Amorous or Amorous, and it is the Nala palette. And look at the packaging. This is the main reason I bought it. The packaging is beautiful, and then the shadows, the color story, also very, very pretty. I did use this palette in a video. Actually, the majority of the palettes I'm going to show you, I do have videos on. So if you're interested in seeing any of them, please go to my channel and check them out. And the formula was nice. I mean, not very pigmented. I did have to build up the shadows from what I remember, but they blended very nicely. And I didn't have any problems working with the shadows. So very nice palette, and they're very affordable. Again, I had never heard of this brand before, and I don't remember exactly how much I paid for this, but it was fairly affordable. I remember it wasn't a lot, and you get a lot of bang for your buck. So very, very nice. If you haven't checked them out, you might want to. Another palette I picked up, this was later in the year. This is from Shine or Shein. They are, I believe they're in China, and they do a lot of affordable clothing and jewelry, costume jewelry, but they recently came out with their own brand, a makeup brand. So I thought I would pick up this palette. This is the Dark Side palette, and their brand is She Glam. And I picked this up because that was when I started my mission, my hunt for cool tones eyeshadow palettes. And this one here, I saw this palette in one of Tammy Clark's videos, and I thought, wow, what is that? So I went on ahead and ordered it. These two rows right here are the cool tone eyeshadows, and then you have this one row of really warm shadows. I have yet to use this palette. It's got some nice blues and grays. I did swatch it, and the swatches really didn't impress me, so I think that's one of the reasons why I never dug into it. We'll see what happens. You let me know in the comments below if you would like to see a video with this palette. Again, not sure how much I paid for it, but I know it wasn't a lot of money. It was very affordable. And yeah, you let me know if you'd be interested in seeing this. From Sigma Beauty, I picked up the Untamed palette. I let the Corta Rosa palette get away. I'm really still kicking myself about that. When they had that they had amazing sales near the end of the year, and I messed around and didn't get the Corta Rosa, and it sold out. It's still out of stock, but I did pick up the Untamed palette. Actually, I've never picked up any eyeshadow palettes from Sigma before, so this was my first eyeshadow purchase. And it does come with a dual-ended brush, and yeah, it's a beautiful, cool color story, cool tone color story. As actually, this is one of the palettes I used on my eyes today, and I was pleasantly surprised at the performance of it. And yeah, so really like this, and looking forward to digging into it even more this year. And then I got the Midas Cosmetics, the High Times palette. This was the first purchase I ever made from Midas Cosmetics, although I've been interested in trying out some of their shadows. And this is that palette. I did do a look with it, and it came out really nice, but I don't know. I used the greens in the palette, and they kind of sort of all look the same once I blended them onto the eye. Didn't necessarily, not all of them stayed true to color once I put them on my skin. So yeah, the jury's still out on this one, but love the grungy color story, and I'm sure, or at least I hope to dig into it again this year. Okay, now Melt Cosmetics. I bought the most shadows I've ever purchased from Melt Cosmetics in 2020, and that's just because they came out with this Day of the Dead collection, the Vita palette. Okay, I'm gonna get this right. I'm gonna get it right. Okay, the Vita palette and the Muerte palette. And you put them together, and that's what they look like. And just, I mean, the color stories in this palette, in these palettes, I could not resist. The first one that I purchased was the Muerte palette because, I mean, look at it. Look at it. Just, and so, oh my gosh, you know, Melt comes with the pigment. And then I went on ahead when they had a sale, and then later on I picked up the Vita palette, and I'm glad I did. I always thought it was a beautiful palette. I was on the fence about whether or not to get it, and I'm glad I did because it too is gorgeous, and the packaging is to die for. No pun intended. And then I also picked up an old palette of theirs. This is the Smoke Sessions palette, one that I had always been interested in, and then waited for a good sale and picked it up. Very pretty. And not last but not least, I picked up the She's in Parties palette. Turned out to be one of my favorite eyeshadow palettes of 2020. And this is a beautiful plum purple color story, and the best of all these palettes, the best in terms, okay, I've got eyeshadow all over me. I just dug the plastic into the shadow. In my opinion, this one is the best, has the best formula of all the palettes that I have from Melt. And then last but not least from Melt, I picked up the Blueprint stack, and they just came out with the Blueprint in a traditional palette, which is what they've been doing with all of their stacks of late. And this is an oldie, but really pretty. I never bought it because it was like half blue and then half neutrals. I mean, if you're going to call it the Blueprint, I expected I expected to be a monochromatic blue palette. But yeah, I did use it once on my channel and really liked the look that I came up with. Didn't have any issues working with these eyeshadows either. So that's all the palettes I purchased from Melt, and I'm happy with them. Some of them are a little more difficult to work with than others, like the Vita and the Melt shadows, a little more difficult to work with than the She's in Parties or the Blueprint stack, but I'm really glad that I have them all in my collection. And from Give Me Glow, I purchased quite a few things from indie brands this year. I picked up three palettes from Give Me Glow Cosmetics. This first one is the Grunge palette, which I believe they're discontinuing if they haven't already. And this is what it looks like. It's a cool toned palette with some shimmers and mattes. And then the Extra Spicy palette, which they're also discontinuing. And this is just a straight up orange palette. Orange with this deep red, these two deep reds here, and this beautiful gold. So again, another beautiful monochromatic palette. And then I finally picked up the Christmas Morning palette, which is a palette I've had my eye on since it launched. I don't know how long ago, maybe it was last year at Christmas time. Have not used this palette yet, and I think just the color story just, I don't know, doesn't speak to me as much as I thought it did before I purchased it. It's got some beautiful shimmers. Like I really bought it for these two shadows right here. But yeah, when it comes to actually using the palette, I feel like I can use these two together, these two, and these two, but in terms of mixing them and doing something that's less monochromatic, just using this palette, I don't really feel like it's something I can really do. And then this gold shade right here, this really foiled pajamas shade shadow. It's super flaky. I swatched it the other day and I couldn't even get any on my finger, and it was just flakes all over the place. So I'm a little concerned. I don't know if I've had this probably for at least a year, and I don't know if the formula's changing on me or what, but we'll see. Let me know in the comments below if you want to see a video with this palette. I'm gonna get to it eventually. I just don't know when. And then from what is this? Oh, You Can Be. This is one of those really affordable brands that do a lot of dupe palettes, and this is the Bubble Nebula changeable palette. I'm pretty sure I got this off of Amazon. It's by You Can Be, and this is a dupe for one of the Huda Beauty palettes that I thought was really beautiful, but I can't get down with Huda, so I bought the dupe, and I have yet to use it. I have yet to use it, and the swatches aren't very encouraging, but I think it's a beautiful color story. And yeah, I need to get into this. I need to get into how the packaging is really pretty too. And then from Natasha Denona, I tried her shadows for the very first time in 2020. I picked up the Mini Gold palette, which is one that I had been interested in for a long time. Finally picked it up, did a look with it, really enjoyed the formula, really liked the look that I did. And then I also later in the year picked up the Glam palette, and again I liked the formula of this one as well. Very easy shadows to work with, and yeah, I've been very happy thus far with Miss Denona's formula. Don't know if she will be changing it up yet again in 2021. From Viseart, I did purchase quite a few palettes from Viseart last year. I did pick up the Dark Edit palette, which I have been lusting after for quite some time. Finally picked it up, and it did not disappoint. Love this palette. And then also picked up the Paris Edit palette, a cool tone mauve palette with some peach and a splash of gray. And again, beautiful, beautiful formula. Beautiful formula. Also picked up the Apricotine palette. I forgot to film this, but wanted to make sure I showed it to you guys, and I also forgot to turn my mic back on. So that's why this is a voiceover, but it's a pretty peachy palette. I got the Petite Pro 5 Soleil palette, or Soleil palette. And this was the first one that I purchased from Viseart last year, and still have not used it. I've swatched it a bunch of times, but have not used it yet. But I think once, you know, we transition into spring and summer, I feel like this color story is going to influence me to finally take it out and use it. And then at the end of the year, I picked up one of their Theory palettes, and this is the number 3, the Chroma palette, which I absolutely love. Did a holiday look with that palette. These grays, blacks, ooh, gorgeous. I love a good gray eyeshadow. I love it. And I got these two, they came out with these quads that I still have not used, these Petit Fours. Ooh, and this is, what is this? This is, oh, the Lilas. That's what that looks like. A really cool tone mauve plum palette. And then this is Praline. And this, if I could get it open, that's what this looks like. Again, pretty, more on the cool tone neutral side. Have not used them yet. We'll probably have to incorporate deeper shadows from other palettes, because I'm not sure this is going to be deep enough for me, but we shall see. And then last but not least, I picked up the Grand Pro Volume 2 palette. After finally trying their shimmer metallic formula for the first time last year, there was no way I could pass up this palette, which is all shimmer metallic. Look at that, just gorgeous. I have used this palette a couple of times, and really enjoying it thus far. It's got dual chromes in it, it's got glittery shades in it. It's just gorgeous. I think it's got everything you need when it comes to metallic shimmer eyeshadows. And then from Miss Pat McGrath, because what would be a year without purchasing anything from Miss McGrath? I did pick up the Midnight Sun Mothership 6 palette. And if you saw my video with this palette, you know that not one of my favorites from her. The color story is just, for me, it's just I mean, you know, the quality of course is typical Pat McGrath, but the color story is just really not my thing. I just bought it honestly because it was on sale. Then I did pick up the Divine Rose 2 Mothership 8 palette, which, oh my god, I absolutely love. I was lucky, so lucky enough to get it in the limited edition rose packaging, and that's what that looks like. Absolutely gorgeous. My favorite from Miss McGrath thus far. And then she came out with some holiday quads, so I picked up all 3 of them, because you know how I do on this channel. This one is Risque Rose, and it looks just like her Mothership palettes, the packaging. Mirror everything, but this is a quad. Ooh, honey. And this one is Floor Fantasy. She really, I don't know, I feel like she really outdid herself with these quads. She did come out with some new eyeshadow formulas with these quads. That's Floor Fantasy. This is an all shimmer palette. Oh, that's a lie. There's one matte in this palette. All the palettes came with you know, varying numbers of mattes and shimmers. And then this one is the Interstellar Icon, if I can get it out of the packaging. And this one is the more neutral, everyday palette, but look at that. Beautiful. This one had a repeat shade in it as well. Miss McGrath likes to put repeat shades in her palettes. Something I hope she will stop doing in 2021. And then last but not least, also from Miss McGrath, I did pick up the Rose Decadence palette. This was also, I believe it's a limited edition holiday release. And this is one of the 6-pan palettes, continuing in the rose theme, which is so stunning, so beautiful. Yeah. As always, I'm happy. Well, Midnight Sun, not so happy with, but happy with all of the others I picked up from Miss McGrath in 2020. Okay, one bin down, 2 to go. Alrighty then. So from Juvia's Place, they've become the color pop. They've become another color pop with all of the releases that they had in 2020, and they're still going strong. I did pick up 3 of the mini palettes that they launched last year. This is the Sweet Pinks palette that I have not used yet. This is the Chocolates, which I have used in a video. Gorgeous. I just do wish these 2 shades are very, very similar. I wish they would have swapped that out with something else. And then the Mauves is the latest addition to my collection, and just posted a video with that. Very, very nice. And from ColourPop, it had been a while since I ordered any eyeshadow from ColourPop. It's been a minute, but I did go ahead and pick up the Star Wars Mandalorian, the Child palette, a beautiful green palette. I love me some Grogu, and I love this show, so that was a no-brainer. And then I also did get the Stone Cold Fox palette. I was on the hunt for cool tone palettes near the end of the year, and did pick up this one, and I've used it a few times now. I haven't used it yet on camera, but I've used it quite a few times already, so that I could give you an idea or give you like a mini review once I come on camera with it. That's if you're still interested in seeing it. And yeah, really don't need to buy any more cool tone neutral palettes after this one. I did pick up a palette from Ulta, from the Ulta Beauty brand. This is in collaboration with Harry Potter. This is the Slytherin palette. They did have, I think, 2 other palettes in this collection. Again, another green palette. Absolutely beautiful. Was very, very pleasantly surprised at the formula of these shadows. So yeah, I would not hesitate to purchase eyeshadows from the Ulta brand again. And another indie brand I tried in 2020 was Playing in Makeup by Yolando. This is the Jamrock No Limitations palette. Beautiful, gorgeous, gorgeous. Talk about pigmented, pigmented. They blend. The shimmers are not my favorite. They don't have a whole lot of punch, except for this one right here, which, oh Lord, she needs to just do all her shimmers in that formula. But nice palette. I have used it quite a bit since purchasing it, and this was a good buy. She has a pastel palette that I might want to pick up. And from Too Faced, again, been a minute since I purchased anything from Too Faced, but I did pick up the Papaya palette. I do have a video on it, and so happy I picked up this palette. This was a nice little purchase. And from Nabla, the only eyeshadow I've ever purchased from Nabla, I picked this up from Ulta. This was part of a collection too. I think there were 4 palettes. Of the 4, I picked up the cool toned one. This is the Platinum palette. I think I used 1 shade in it, the dark brown shade I used once in a look, and haven't touched it since. So really need to get on that this year and see what this baby can do. And Oh Lord. Oh, also from ColourPop, I did pick up the Baroque palette. Again, another eyeshadow palette, part of a collection. Another cool tone palette. This one though is grays and blues and beautiful. Has two duochromes in it. Beautiful. Really, really happy. I'm always happy with ColourPop eyeshadows because the formula is really nice. The color stories are pretty cool usually, are pretty nice usually. And yeah, I love me some ColourPop eyeshadows. From Ace Beauté, I did pick up this Scarlet Dust palette. Been seeing this in a lot of people's declutter videos. Being decluttered. But this is what she looks like. Didn't need this palette. Certainly have these colors already, but I don't know. I think the color story is really pretty. I have enjoyed the Ace Beauté eyeshadow formula. I know other people have not. And so yeah, I'm interested. This one really calls to me to do a look. Haven't done it yet, but I'm excited to use that one. And from Anastasia Beverly Hills, forgot about this one for a minute, the Sultry palette. Picked this up at the very end of the year. It was limited edition. They took it off the shelves. They brought it back for holiday in a vault or in a kit. And I did finally pick it up. And it's pretty. I mean, it's pretty. Now that I have it, and I have the Glam palette, and I have the Stone Cold palette, Stone Cold Fox palette, then I finally got it in my hot little hands, and I was like, okay. But I definitely was feeling some kind of way once it was taken off the shelves and I hadn't gotten it. So I'm glad I do have it at long last. And this packaging is absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, you'll be seeing this one at some point. And BH Cosmetics. BH Cosmetics were their palettes. They're like 120 pan palettes. I think were like the very first eyeshadows I ever purchased in my life. So I haven't purchased, that's not true. I had the Brazil palettes, the Bring Me to Brazil palettes or whatever. I did have one of those. But yeah, I haven't purchased any of eyeshadow palettes from them since then until the end of the year. And I purchased two from their Sweet Shop collection. Had heard so much about this collection and this eyeshadow formula, so of course I picked up the Pistachio palette, which is the green monochromatic palette. I have swatched it, have not used it yet, but I can't wait because that is right up my alley. And then I did get the Bubblegum palette, which is a monochromatic blue. I love blue eyeshadow as well, so this is absolutely gorgeous. Again, so looking forward to playing in that. Beauty Bay. Last year, 2020, was the first time I've ever purchased anything from Beauty Bay, and it's the first time they have their own brand called By Beauty Bay, and also the first time I ever purchased anything from their line. So what I picked up was the Bright Matte 42 color palette. I've used this a couple of times. You've seen me use it on my channel, but I use the non-colorful shadows. I use this row right here twice. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to using all the rest of the eyeshadows. The formula, really, really nice. The matte's really smooth and silky and blendable and pigmented. And yeah, so very, very happy to have this in my collection. Also from Beauty Bay, I picked up the Be Perfect Carnival 3 palette. I have the Carnival, I have the Carnival XL. That was number 2 in the Carnival series palette. You know, that was one of my favorites of 2019. This didn't make my favorite eyeshadow palettes of 2020 simply because I had only used it once. It should have been in there though, even though I've only used it once. The eyeshadows I did use, the formula is consistent with that from the Carnival XL palette, and yeah, it should have been in my favorites. But yeah, this is a beautiful palette. I did use an eyeshadow from this palette in my look today as well, and yeah, I love it. Stacey Marie, this is in collaboration with Stacey Marie, and she put her foot in it once again. Also from Beauty Bay, the Fiery 16 color palette. They have this also, I think, in a 42 palette, but these are all warm tone neutrals, and I don't need a 42 eyeshadow palette of warm tone neutrals. So I opted for the 16 pan palette. They don't need 16 pans either, but I got this one. It was like $7, so why wouldn't I? Also picked up from Beauty Bay the nude palette. They have a 42 one of this one as well, but I opted for the 16. I think they also have these in 9 pan palettes as well. And yeah, this is a little more cool toned, just a little. So yeah, I have used this one actually. Just used this one in a look on Instagram, and yeah, nice. The formula is nice. Also from Beauty Bay, I did pick up the Dose of Colors Cutting Edge palette. It did come broken. This shade did come broken, and I did repress it. Don't know how good of a job I did, but you know, it's still in the pan. So this is I don't know, this seems like a grungy green palette to me. Love the color story on that, and it's been a long time since I've purchased a Dose of Colors eyeshadow palette, but the one that I do have, it's an all matte palette, but I really do like it. So yeah, looking forward to using this. Haven't used it yet, looking forward to doing so this year. And then finally picked up the Book of Magic palette. Ooh, this one is just, the packaging is gorgeous. Ooh, the color story is gorgeous. Did a look with this on my channel, but I used more of the neutral tones. So when I go back, I will be using those purples and those blues. Yes, I will. I might even use the black. I mean, let's just get crazy, why don't we? Beautiful. And oh, last but not least, wow, that wasn't too bad. I thought that was gonna be really long, but yeah, no, it's not. Last but not least, the newest addition to my eyeshadow palette collection, and it is from an indie brand called Alien Cosmetics. I have had my eye on them. You know, I forget about them, think about them, forget about them, think about them. So this palette, this is the Serendipity palette. I got this on pre-order during Black Friday, and then I finally received it. And first of all, let's talk about the packaging. I mean, this gold is just, I really love this like gold foiled look. I do not like the artwork, okay? Not my favorite. But the color story, I just found, it has a mirror. I just found this color story to be very interesting, very interesting. I saw someone else use this on her channel. I don't remember her name, and it was some time ago. And yeah, that's what made me finally go ahead and pull the trigger, because I have been looking at it. Every time I go to her website, I take a look. I'd be like, oh, that's kind of expensive, and I don't know this brand. So I'm pretty sure that I paid full price. I might have gotten like some percentage off of this, I think. Anyway, I finally pulled the trigger and picked it up. I have to admit, the swatches, a little dicey, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna use it. This is a duochrome here, and this really metallic shade, it's more like flakes actually. This is a duochrome as well. And yeah, again, these indie brands do have, I think, the most interesting color stories. And yeah, let me know in the comments below if you want to see a video with this palette. And that is it. Those are all the palettes I purchased in 2020. I think this is the most amount of eyeshadow palettes I've ever purchased in a year. And I don't plan on replicating that here in 2021. In 2021 is all about using the eyeshadow palettes I already own. I did pick up some singles too from Give Me Glow. I tried JD Glow Cosmetics singles for the first time. Divina Cosmetics, I'm still waiting on an order from Cleona Cosmetics. So yeah, my delve into indie brands continued in 2020. I'm interested in what it is indie brands are doing, and hope that they'll continue to do some more interesting things, and I'll be on the lookout. You know, I've got my parameters for palettes that I'm trying not to buy this year, but I got my eye out. Let me know down in the comments below Did you buy a lot of eyeshadow palettes? Did you ride the crazy train too and buy a whole lot of eyeshadow palettes in 2020? Which ones were your favorite? If you liked this video, then please give it a like and consider subscribing, because I do this stuff along with eyeshadow tutorials, makeup hauls, swatches, and reviews every Saturday. I want to thank you for joining me today. I hope to see you again next week. Until then, bye-bye.